And thank you, Heather. So our objective here is to get all you folks in the room here really active to do something about this problem. We're going to talk about it. Because I got involved when I was in the state senate. I represented the Mascoma Valley and other towns, Republican and conservative. And we need to make sure that both parties are heavily behind this. Right now, Democrats tend to be behind legislation in New Hampshire, the right kind of legislation. In Congress, H.R. 1, a bill to deal with a panoply of campaign matters, was voted out favorably by every Democrat in the House in Washington, and no Republicans voted for it. So we've got a partisanship problem on this. And this issue is just as important to conservatives and Republicans as it is to Democrats and progressives. Absolutely as important, because our country is not able to solve its problems. And the system is corrupted across the political spectrum. I got involved in it more recently. I ramped up my activation level. I ran for U.S. Senate in 2016. This is an election here in New Hampshire where $120 million was spent. Maggie Hassan won by 1,700 votes. $120 million. 95% of the money came from out of state. A lot of it was dark money. You heard the a former member of the FEC talk about it. It's likely a considerable amount of that money came from Saudi Arabia. One of the issues I ran on was anti-war. We don't have an anti-war candidate in New Hampshire serving us in the United States Senate right now because the money that has flooded the system does not foster debate among people who advocate what is called restraint in military policy. So we don't have a war in Iran or Venezuela. So this is a problem not just for Democrats, it's a Republican problem. And issues that touch all of us, where Americans are very strongly in favor of restraint in military policy. We don't have effective advocacy of that policy, either on the right or the left. This is a symptom of this corrupt system of campaign money we're looking at here. It's a system of corruption. So I'm going to advocate a lot of different actions, but just one here right here. We're working on a piece of legislation in the New Hampshire legislature. It's already passed the House. It's called HB 504, and we're seeking to make New Hampshire state number 20, asking Congress to write an amendment, a very simple amendment, allowing the state legislatures and Congress to regulate campaign money and to ban or bar gerrymandering. So 19 states have passed this resolution urging Congress to send this 28th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution back to the states, 3/4 of which are required for ratification. New Hampshire could be the state number 20 asking Congress to do this. Again, this bill, HB 504, has passed the House. It's now before the Senate. Your state senator here now, Martha Hennessy, is in favor of this and a bunch of other campaign reform agenda items that I also back. So, but it's going to be important for the governor to sign this. So I'm going to ask you folks to do one really simple thing. Call the governor's office. You can look it up on Google. I don't remember. I think it's 271-2121. Can anyone confirm that?
Yes.
Is that it? So it's 271-2120. 271-2121. Call the governor's office and ask him to sign, once the Senate passes it, it should, HB 504, so that Congress is urged to give us an amendment to the Constitution to allow Congress and the states to regulate corrupt campaign money. I'll stop there.
My name is Rick Borden, and I live in Lyme. I'm serving as co-chair of Open Democracy and also Open Democracy Action. And if that's confusing, yeah, the probably flagship program of Open Democracy is called the New Hampshire Rebellion, so it gets very confusing. But Open Democracy was created almost 20 years ago by Doris Granny D. Haddock, who, if you remember, was the the entire country, from the West Coast to Washington, D.C., starting at age 88 and ending at age 90, just before the McCain-Feingold Act was passed. So we have a rather rich tradition, originally very much in democratic politics, large D, democratic politics. More recently, we have become more bipartisan because we realized that really, if we're going to have lasting influence, we need to get the buy-in from both parties. And this year, we have a public funding bill in play. It's kind of stalled at the moment, but it will come back to life. And what is really making me feel good about it is that it was crafted by open democracy with the help of 6 legislators, 3 Democrats, 3 Republicans. And I would say, frankly, that the Republicans probably had more influence on the actual final version of the bill than did the Democrats. But everybody was on board. And I'm also happy for the fact that my friend here is a Republican and has been very, very, very active in supporting that bill. Open democracy has been involved in all aspects, really, of campaign finance reform, from disclosure or transparency, which is really what the film is about tonight, to public funding, and about everything in between. This year has been especially interesting. We are on the verge of passing SB 106, which is a disclosure bill. There have been, well, it's very similar to what we're seeing in this film, but a little bit different twist in New Hampshire. There are dark money groups that not only don't disclose their donors, they don't register, they don't disclose how much they're spending. The law, if you look at it, suggests that they really have to do that, but there are some, and Americans for Prosperity is the poster child, that simply don't do it. And we have passed bills 6 years ago that we thought would fix the problem. They ignored that problem. This year, SB 106, I believe, is going to be on the consent calendar in the House this Thursday. And it looks like, you know, it's a shoo-in, and we hope that this finally fixes the problem. So that will be a big victory for us if we can pull that off this year.
Hi everybody, my name is Jody Newell. I know, it's too clever. My name is Jody Newell, I'm from Keene. Happy to be here tonight. I'm actually a volunteer with Rights and Democracy and also a national coordinator with Wolfpack, volunteer. We are going at the issue of campaign finance reform through the lens of we wanted to get a 28th Amendment. So we're going through for the 28th Amendment in a slightly different way. We work with a lot of different organizations. But what we did was when we did the research, we realized that many times when an amendment has been passed, one crucial part of it, one very effective part of it, is the alternative way. So Article 5 of the Constitution says you can get a constitutional amendment by 2 means. You can either get it when two-thirds of the Congress puts forth an amendment, and then 3/4 of the states need to approve it to ratify it for it to become a part of our Constitution. The alternate way of doing that is if 2/3 of the states call for what is called an amendment for the purpose of proposing amendments. A convention for the purpose of proposing amendments. So what we found is that when amendments are passed, there are many different ways of going about it, of pressuring Congress to do that, for the people to pressure Congress. We would love for Congress to do it. We support all avenues for it. But we find that the states requesting it, that's the teeth, because that's when the people exercise their power. So we have decided to push for that route, to be the teeth, to get it done. What we'd like to use as an example is the 17th Amendment, which is directly analogous because it directly affected the people who were making the decision. So if you all remember, that was the direct election of senators. So they used to be appointed. In order for them to be directly elected by the people, we needed a constitutional amendment to change that. And it was something that directly affected the Congress. So to expect the Senate to limit their own power we had to put the pressure on, right? We had to have some teeth. And so what we did was the states started passing a resolution in each state, calling for an Article 5 convention. So that's what we're doing. There's been a lot of talk about it, fear circulated about it, and things like that. But when you actually look into it and do research, it has been, and we hope will be, a very effective way of getting this done. So we've worked with Take Back Our Republic, we work with American Promise, we work with Open Democracy, and we hope that you can look into what we're doing as well, so that we can help in our way to get a 28th Amendment to officially curb the corruption of campaign financing. I'm sorry, these are my two little